first episode of Shit Gets Real. I don't know how you found us, but I'm tipping it's those nude Miley Cyrus tags I put on the video.
If that's the case, shame on you, internet.
For shame.
She's a lovely young lady.
With eyes you could get lost in.
You should respect her musical talent.
You should. Fucking Disney Channel. Anyway, for our first movie, we decided to review The Grey, which stars Liam Neeson. Oh, I'm calling you a G. I died at the first episode of Star Wars at the end, because Darth Maul's a better lightsaber guy than I am. And okay. IMDb describes it as...
After their plane crashes in Alaska, several oil workers are led by a skilled huntsman to survival, but a pack of merciless wolves haunts their every step. So the film was shot on location in Canada. It's really beautiful cinematography there.
Although it does kind of look like the directors just sat down and watched every possible episode of Man vs. Wild, and then just got a bigger budget and kind of recast Bear Grylls with Liam Neeson. I mean, there's one particular scene that was like, oh my god, when I was watching it, where one of the last guy other than Liam Neeson left alive falls into a river, and I swear to god I'd seen those exact shots on Man vs. Wild like the week before.
It did have a little bit of a touch of that, but I mean, you're going to get that with any sort of natural wildlife type movie. And you can't deny that, you know, some of the scenes really are breathtaking. They've got some fantastic vistas in there.
There's one scene where, like, the third last guy decides that he can't go on anymore, and it's a fair enough assumption to say that he's pretty much fucked himself. He broke his knee falling out of a tree or something, I can't remember quite what happened. But he says to Liam Neeson, this is all for me, and it turns around and it's just this majestic, like, vista. And you can see that if you were going to choose to die, I'd probably go out that way rather
not
than
a bad spot.
mauled by 18 wolves. So,
I personally thought, all in all, it was a pretty decent flick. A little bit different from the norm, but had it been released last year, I reckon it would have been up for Oscar nomination.
it is good if you like that type of movie, like Lost Horizon or Alive, where the plane crashes and then it takes all of 10 seconds for them to eat the guys that are dead, which actually did happen to me in this movie. One of them died, and then Liam Neeson's like, we're hungry, and it kind of took all of me about 10 seconds to think, why don't you just eat the dead people, which I guess makes me a bad person. But all in all, it's a strong film, it's directed well, Liam Neeson does play the character adequately, and it's a beautifully shot film. Like, I would have killed to be a producer or even a cameraman on that show.
Check it out.
It's good. I give it 7.
I'd give it 8.
What? See, I was going at 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're supposed to higher.
Yeah.
I'll go 7, 8,
But I didn't like it
8.5.
as much. That doesn't make any sense.
No, well, I'll go 8.5, 8.9.
Yeah, okay, cool. That works. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's face it, no one went anywhere. We just put a friggin' transition there. Anyway, this segment's called Movies We'll Never Get Sick of. And quite frankly, I'll never get sick of this movie, and it's Ghostbusters. Now, this movie I first saw when I was 8, and it scared the shit out of me. No joke. That first scene when they're in the New York Library, and there's that, like, creepy old lady. Oh my god! I did not set foot in any, like, old type of building for, like, 10 years, and that includes libraries. I blame that scene for the reason I'm a shit reader. It affected my education.
It's a classic movie from the 80s, you know, written by Danny Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. You've got Ivan Reitman at the helm directing it. You know, same crew that did Meatballs, that did Stripes. You know, you've got Bill Murray as the protagonist.
Which everyone loves.
Exactly, and despite the fact that, you know, written by the guys that play Spangler and Ray, still, you know, they let Bill Murray take the front.
That's a selfless act.
Exactly.
And quite frankly, that movie wouldn't have been the same if Dan Aykroyd was, let's face it, the main character, because he's kind of a bit actor. I mean, he's just the comic relief. I mean, which is hard to say when you've got Bill Murray, but it's weird because he is kind of just that weird offsider guy that Bill Murray kind of goes like,
exactly.
Hey Dan, I'm gonna go fuck this chick now. You do the science stuff. It's pretty much what happened.
It's pretty much they're there so that, you know, Bill Murray can play off them, and you know there were a couple of criticisms with that. They don't really, you know, that you don't get Spangler and Ray sort of, you know, feeding into Bill Murray's nonsense enough. But you know, hell, I thought it was funny.
It is a movie that reminds us that not everything that came out of the 80s was terrible. I mean, you had the friggin' leg warmers and Spandau Ballet. That band was terrible. And, like, Bono still had his original hair, so that was good. But, as I said, it reminds us of not that the whole 80s wasn't terrible. I mean, it led into movies like Back to the Future. It started the whole science fiction comedy kind of genre, if you ask me.
And that was another thing, you know, it was one of the first comedies to really get the big budget thing done right. A lot of, you know, comedies that you would have seen prior to the 80s, or, you know, inverted commas, comedies, you know, a lot of the time they'd be relying way too much on the special effects, the explosions, you know, and the jokes just wouldn't be fully formed, they wouldn't be developed. This movie showed that, you know, it could be done, that you could have, you know, the big $30 million, or, you know, 80s money.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Going off what Evan just said, this movie actually I watched it again for the first time a couple of months ago after having made my own movie for the first time, and seeing it through the eyes of a director, it makes you think of movies differently. Like nowadays, if that movie had been done, everything would be CGI. I mean, the ghosts, sure, they look better, but it lose some of its charm. And the last scene where four of them, sorry, are about to go up on that freaky ass building to fight what eventually is a giant marshmallow man, and like the whole like New York City skyline and like all the shit just crumbles into each other. That was a set built on the backlot of Fox. Like I said, if that was today, complete blue screen, which I think actually makes it a lot better and gives a clearer performance from the actors. If you ask me, CGI has created a bunch of lazy filmmakers.
Exactly. I mean, that's the other thing. You know, with a movie that goes back a little bit to the 80s, then you do have a little bit more character development. You do have, you know, the real sets. And it does tend to hold up pretty well because of those things.
Exactly. I mean, take Star Wars, for instance. That movie is still relevant today. And, like, if you look hard enough on an HD TV, you can clearly see the wires. But,
it still holds up. I mean, you look at something like Starship Troopers. Now, that was a 97 joint, I believe. You know, that still holds, once again, special effects.
That movie is
very
responsible
well.
for Neil Patrick Harris. I mean, sure, he was Doogie Howser, but, he was, and now he's like the gayest straight man ever.
Exactly, and we love him for it.
He's great.
Whereas you look at a couple of like early Alt movies, you know, for example, Harry Potter, some of the Matrix films, the CGI in that looks incredibly dated now. It makes it really hard to go back and watch.
Actually, what made me hate Matrix 2 was that scene where he's fighting all the Agent Smiths, and it clearly just looks like they've gone, yeah, it kind of looks like Keanu.
It vaguely looks.
There's a lot of in that movie, if you ask me, especially in the last one where he's like, I will fight Agent Smith for you, but yeah, we don't really need to go after that, so dead. Apparently they are making a fourth one.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it.
Why not?
I'd watch anything.
Choreographed by Wu Ping. I'd watch anything choreographed by Wu Ping.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in China. Check it out. Jet Li. Don't get the dub version. It's terrible. Moving along.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the first episode of SGR.
We hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making
If
it.
you do find our insights helpful in any way, shape or form, please hit the subscribe button above my head.
Or the like button below my ball.
It'll make you feel good.
Fantastic. Leave us a comment in the comment section below. Tell us what you liked, what you disliked, and give us any ideas for next time's movies we'll never get sick of.
We'll be back in the next few weeks if all goes to plan, but if you haven't seen it already, get your hands on the Avenger trailer. That shit is amazing.
Fantastic. Worth seeing.
Scarlett Johansson is a redhead. I don't really need to say much more.
No, he does not. If you haven't seen it yet, check out The Chronicles. Still in theaters. It's a fantastic bit of movie.
We were going to review it, but we're kind of lazy.
A little bit.
Anyway, I'm Simon.
I'm Evan.
Shit got real.